What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Star Wars First Order Deluxe Stormtrooper Blaster. Title's a freaking mouthful, just like the barrel. Ayo. This blaster by Nerf is a Star Wars replica blaster that's a flywheel semi-automatic magazine-fed blaster, featuring the goofy horizontal magazine, kind of like a Rampage. Because who doesn't want to shoot like a Stormtrooper? Let's get into the review. Lay contents. I'd like to thank this video's sponsor, Quid. Quid is a fun new app where you can open packs, collect stickers, cards, and Funko figures for free. Quid has thousands of free stickers that you can use to text your friends that you can't find anywhere else. From hot shows like Game of Thrones, oh man, just binge watched the first 6 seasons, Rick and Morty, Adventure Time, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Star Trek. And they just launched some Marvel stuff, so you can click and drag them into iMessage to send these stickers to your friends in a text message. And if that's not enough, you can also meet other fans on Quid and trade stickers with them. So thanks so much to Quid for sponsoring this video. If you guys would like to download the app, check the link in the description box below. So Nerf has made a few Star Wars replica blasters in the past, and this follows the same lines as those. They are not performance-oriented. The performance of this is quite a bit lower than the standard Nerf blasters, but it looks cool like it's in Star Wars. So that's the too long didn't read. It's not for performance Nerfers, but if you're trying to fit it to a cosplay or you want to feel like a Stormtrooper and just never ever hit your target ever, this one might be for you. External overview, starting out with the front barrel. This does not have an in-strike barrel attachment point, because obviously the first thing you thought when you saw this massive barrel is, hey, I need to make it longer. Just kidding, but even if you did, you can't because there's no attachment point. There's really nothing to point out as far as operation goes. You have a front sight up here corresponding to the rear back here. But it's a Stormtrooper rifle, so obviously you won't be using those. And this little orange thing right here kind of resembles a heat shroud, which allows heat to dissipate off the barrel when you're shooting in fully automatic in a firearm without overheating. Obviously it doesn't do that, but what is cool is there are some LEDs built in, so when you pull the trigger, it lights up. And as you can note out here, sound effects are included in the blaster at no extra cost. And unfortunately, there's no off switch. So if you're like me and that gets annoying, you just have to deal with it. Moving back from the barrel is this thing. Not sure what it is, but it spins, which is cool. Kind of looks like you're supposed to put your eye into it, like a scope. Don't know. The Nerf version, what I'm holding, doesn't do anything, but it does spin freely. Behind that, up on the top, there's no in-strike tactical rail, so you cannot put on any in-strike attachments. There are no attachment points of any kind anywhere. The only cross-compatibility with standard Nerf stuff is, of course, the darts and the magazine. But there is a little front sight up on the top to correspond with the one over the barrel. Then on the other side is the magazine well. The included magazine holds 12 rounds, and this included mag is like a transparent orange, which is pretty cool looking. Half of it's not opaque like a lot of the orange mags. The magazine well, as you no doubt noticed, is horizontal, which is kind of odd. But putting in the magazine is just like any other in-strike blaster where you're putting in a mag. It's just, you know, inverted a little bit. And the magazine release button is on the rear, which is really easy for your left hand to strike as you go up to grab the magazine. So it's a very fluid mag change. And with the 12-round magazine, it's pretty manageable. If you have the 18-round extended mag, or especially like a 22-round worker mag, you're going to be running into door frames all day, every day. But the blaster, again, isn't really based around performance nerfing, so that's probably not an issue. And opposite to the magazine over here is the access door. You can lift up this little spinny thing to get to it, and then you just open it up and you can clear out any jams. I shot the blaster a few hundred times and didn't have any jams that required the use of the access door. But just in case, generally when you're using crummy darts, you can get your finger nice and deep in there and clear out the jam. Down to this little grip, this is where the batteries are housed. This blaster runs on 4 AA alkaline batteries, and the 4 batteries are actually included and installed in the blaster. And those are the only batteries in the blaster, so that's powering the flywheels and making the blaster fire, as well as turning on these pretty LEDs. And for the performance nerfers, yes, that does mean the batteries are wasting some of their energy lighting up the little LEDs, which could perhaps explain the performance decrease, which I'll get to in a moment. But again, there's no off switch to the LEDs, and because there's only one battery source, if they were separated, you could just pull them out if you don't want to hear that. But there's no way to do that, so you're gonna have to deal with it. Perhaps I'm alone, but when I hear this over, and I just want to throw this thing because that's unpleasant to me. It's fun the first like 100 times, but for my testing procedure, I have to shoot it a few hundred times. It's Also noted a small performance increase when I switched out to my brand new AA alkaline batteries. I ordered it online, so I don't think any kids were in the store pushing the trigger, depleting the batteries. But if you do buy this blaster in-store instead of online, there is a chance a kid was up there trying to deplete the batteries and make them go flat by just pressing the trigger, because it is pretty cool. And another note about this front grip, because the magazine well isn't there, it has kind of a unique hold, and it reminds me of holding a paintball marker. Now the weighting is very different because paintball markers have a very heavy CO2 or HPA tank in the rear, but having your front hand up on this little thing, the blaster can swivel pretty easily, and it does remind me a little bit of holding a paintball marker, especially with the thin, super long barrel. It kind of reminds me of a paintball gun. And as a support style weapon with a heat shroud, if you go up and C-clamp like a tactical guru, that's gonna overheat and burn your hand. Lay bummer. So doing this is the tactical way, I guess. That argument's a joke. That's moving back to the triggers. Again, this is a semi-automatic blaster. It's mechanically controlled, so it feels very similar to pulling the trigger on a Strife, Modulus, any other semi-auto flywheel blaster. And of course, being flywheel, the bottom trigger has to be pressed for a moment prior to pulling that main trigger to rev up your flywheels. The grip is pretty comfortable. I'm a big dude. I complain about grips a lot, but it is adult friendly, especially as far as thumbhole stocks go. Thumbhole stock comes with the inherent property of blocking your wrist movement, but other than that, it is comfortable and sized well for anybody of any size. Can't say any size on the internet because a 6-month-old infant's gonna be like, hey Coop, you lied. It's too big for me. I can't handle it. Yes, I'm 6 months old speaking fluent English. Deal with it. Hey, it's possible. Don't ruin my Christmas. Moving on to the stock area, the overall length is pretty short, but it feels comfortable. It feels in line with most in-strike blasters. If anything, it's slightly longer than most stocks on the market right now. Again, making it comfortable for an adult or a bigger person trying to fit a costume for Star Wars. And bonus, this stock also holds an extra magazine in the rear like that. Considering how flimsy the stock is, and it's just very thin plastic and just not a strong stock. I'm not talking about like recoil reduction. It's just very flimsy. When you put pressure on it, it flexes and it just feels kind of trashy. But given how flimsy it is, it holds the magazine surprisingly well. I wasn't expecting it to work this well, but it holds it in there pretty well. So you can hold an extra magazine back there. If you don't want it, doesn't really change the appearance or anything, so that's just an added bonus. Nice use of some otherwise underutilized space. Yeah, that's the external overview. Again, operating it's just like any other flywheel blaster. You load it up with Nerf darts, shove it on in there, hold the rev trigger, and pew pew away. Firing blue elite darts. So performance of the blaster is pretty underwhelming. I put this blaster up on my chronograph and I got an average of 53 feet per second, which is considerably lower than the 70 FPS par for the Nerf Elite line. You can see those darts drooping in the firing test. If somebody is shooting back at you, not only will their darts hit you before yours actually get to them, they can also shoot in straight lines and outrange you and just completely stomp on you in every way. 53 FPS is pretty bad. I chalk the poor performance up to first the super long barrel. The dart is no doubt bouncing around that inner barrel, losing some of its kinetic energy and not flying as far. And also in part because this blaster only runs on one battery set, so that speaker system you hear and the cute little LEDs are drawing current from the batteries when the flywheels are spinning. So those flywheels aren't able to use all of that power. And we need more power! The performance and especially the cost make this blaster not as ideal for performance nerfers. You're probably going to gravitate towards a Modulus, a Strife, or any of the much cheaper and much better performing flywheel blasters on the market, which are also semi-auto flywheel, very similar. But if you're a Star Wars enthusiast and you just want to hold a blaster for a costume and occasionally fling foam and you're not like in a Nerf battle competing or anything, it works well enough to fling foam for fun in that context, and I didn't have any jams or malfunctions. Although there's some serious motor bogs, so if you're trying to very quickly fire, pop, 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 your motors are just going to slow down and you might jam it if you go too far with that. If it has the right appearance for your costume and you're trying to do cosplay or just plinking around, it does a great job at that. If you're interested in purchasing this one, I'll leave a purchase link in the description box below. That's the review of the Star Wars First Order Stormtrooper Deluxe Blaster by Nerf. Oh, nailed it! Second try! Oh, I interrupted myself. I just can't win. But they keep naming all the blasters like the same thing, and I get it, because there's only so many Stormtrooper blasters, but I don't know, maybe they could attach numbers. But if you don't want to type that into Amazon, link in the description box. That's my video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.